I stood frozen on my lawn, watching in disbelief as HOA enforcers dragged away my $1,000 solar panels. Little did they know, I was the government investigator assigned to their case. What would their expressions be when they realized they'd just stolen from the very person sent to dismantle their operation? My hands trembled as I tore open the certified letter. Notice of violation screamed across the top in bold red letters. The Willow Grove Homeowners Association demanded I remove my brand new solar panels within 48 hours or face $100 daily fines. I sank into a kitchen chair, staring at the $11,000 receipt from EcoBright Solutions still pinned to my fridge with a goofy sun-shaped magnet. Just yesterday, I'd beamed with pride as the installation crew secured those glossy black panels to my south-facing roof, my first leap toward energy independence and a greener planet. This has to be a mistake, I muttered, rereading the letter. My phone buzzed with a text from my neighbor, Jake. Saw Linda snapping pics of your roof this morning. You good? Linda Hayes, of course, the self-proclaimed guardian of neighborhood perfection, living 3 houses down in her immaculate white colonial with its obsessively trimmed hedges. She'd been side-eyeing me ever since I painted my front door forest green last summer instead of the HOA-approved neutral taupe. I dug through my home office files and found it. Form 32B, External Modification Request, signed by HOA President Henry Sullivan 6 weeks ago. The approval for my solar panels was right there in black and white. A sharp knock broke my focus. Speak of the devil, Linda stood on my porch in crisp khakis and a polo with the Willow Grove logo stitched on it, her platinum bob unmoving in the wind. I see you got our notice, she said, skipping pleasantries. Those panels are an eyesore. The whole street can see them. That's how solar works, Linda. They need sunlight. I replied, holding up my approval form. Besides, I've got permission right here. She snatched it, scanning with a scowl. This form's outdated. The board passed new aesthetic rules last month. All exterior changes now go through the architectural committee. I wasn't told about any new rules. It was in the newsletter, she said with a smirk that didn't touch her eyes. The one you clearly don't read. Henry may have signed off, but he's not the final say. The board voted, and those panels violate Section 8, Paragraph 3, no installations that disrupt the neighborhood's harmony. My temper flared. Solar panels are protected under the State Energy Protection Act. HOAs can't just ban them. Spare me the legal spiel, she snapped, handing back the form. Take them down or pay the fines. Your call. As she strutted off, she tossed over her shoulder. Oh, and your grass is half an inch too long. Expect that in next week's notice. My phone rang, my boss at the State Energy Commission. Good news, she said. The governor greenlit our special investigation into HOAs blocking renewable energy projects. We've got dozens of complaints piling up. Perfect timing, I replied. I'm dealing with that exact issue at my place right now. Really? Well, I need someone to spearhead this. Someone who gets the tech and the personal stakes. How do you feel about leading it? I glanced out the window to see Linda gesturing wildly at my house while chatting with another board member. I'd say I'm the perfect fit. Great. There's one HOA that's been a real pain. I'll send you the file, Willow Grove. Ring a bell. My throat tightened. You could say that. After the call, I opened her email. The file detailed 12 complaints against my HOA. Denied solar applications, threatening letters, the works. I spent the evening poring over state laws and past cases. The Energy Protection Act was unambiguous. HOAs could regulate placement and appearance reasonably, but couldn't outright ban renewable energy setups. Willow Grove wasn't just petty, it was breaking the law. The next morning, Henry Sullivan himself knocked on my door, towering and polished in a tailored suit despite the early hour. I hear Linda spoke with you, he said smoothly, like a man used to smoothing things over. She did, and I showed her my approved form, which you signed, I pointed out. He flinched. An oversight. I didn't realize they'd be so prominent. Solar panels go on roofs, Henry. Look, we're reasonable. The board will waive the fines if you remove them by tomorrow. We can explore less obtrusive options, maybe ground-mounted panels behind your fence. My backyard's north-facing. They'd be useless there. That's your problem, not ours, he said, his charm slipping. Those roof panels are coming down, one way or another. Or what? We have ways to enforce our rules, he replied, adjusting his already perfect tie. I'd hate for this to get messy. After he left, I warned the installation company about potential trouble, then emailed my boss to fast-track the Willow Grove investigation. Her reply was swift. Investigation officially launched. Your lead. Document everything. Smiling, I set up a camera facing my roof and texted Jake. Keep an eye on my place today? I think the HOA's up to something. Sure, he texted back. But what's going on? Let's just say paradise isn't so perfect. Oh, didn't you want solar panels last summer? Yeah, they shot me down, said they looked too industrial. What? Mind sharing that rejection letter for my records? Happy to. But what's this about? I'll explain soon. Just watch my house. At work, I compiled Willow Grove's complaints into a damning pattern of renewable energy rejections spanning 3 years. I drafted investigation notices, leaving the delivery dates blank. Around lunchtime, Jake texted, Linda and Henry at your place with a guy in a truck, taking pics of your roof. I thanked him and asked which way the truck went. Valley Contractors logo. Headed toward their office, he replied. The HOA office closed at 5 p.m., so I arrived at 4:30. Linda was at the desk, her eyes widening when she saw me. We're closing, she said, grabbing her bag. Won't take long. I want the minutes from the meeting about my panels. They're not ready. When will they be? When Henry approves them. Come back later. Linda, I saw you and Henry at my house with a contractor. What's the plan? Just getting a professional opinion on your unauthorized setup, she said with a tight smile. They're not unauthorized. I have approval. That's no longer valid. I took a breath. If anyone touches my property without consent, I'll pursue every legal avenue available. Is that a threat? She sneered. Just facts. Good night. That night, I barely slept, checking my camera feed obsessively, half expecting an HOA wrecking crew. At midnight, headlights swept my driveway, someone turning around. I dozed off eventually, waking to my 6 a.m. alarm. The panels still gleamed on my roof. Relief hit me. Maybe they'd backed off. I was wrong. A hammer smashed through my front window, glass exploding across my living room. I stood there, coffee mug in hand, as 3 workers in coveralls loomed on my lawn, 2 with crowbars. Henry pointed at my roof while Linda ticked off a clipboard with smug precision. What the hell are you doing? I yelled, storming outside in my robe. Enforcing HOA rules, Henry said coolly. You were notified and didn't comply. A worker pried at a panel. Get off my property. I'm calling the cops. Go ahead, Linda smirked. Section 14 of the covenant you signed lets us fix violations. Breaking my window fixes a violation? That was unfortunate, Henry said. We'll deduct repairs from your fines. I dialed 911, hands shaking. Police, 147, Maple Lane, Willow Grove. Trespassers damaging my property. As I waited, I filmed the chaos. 2 panels already off, handled carelessly. Those cost $500 each, I shouted. If they're damaged, it's going into my lawsuit. What lawsuit? Henry's composure faltered. For trespassing, property damage, and violating the Energy Protection Act. All on video. Jake jogged over from across the street. Heard glass breaking. What's this? The HOA's forcibly removing my panels, I said loudly. After I told them not to touch my stuff. Neighbors gathered, some filming. Linda noticed and whispered to Henry. Maybe we should wait for the police. No, he snapped. If we stop now, everyone will defy us. 5 panels were gone when sirens approached. Henry smoothed his jacket. Officers, we're just enforcing HOA regulations. This resident installed unauthorized equipment. I have approval. I countered, showing the form. They broke my window and stole my property. We're removing a violation, Linda insisted. Does that include breaking windows? One cop asked. An accident, Henry said quickly. The older officer, gray at the temples, surveyed the scene. I've seen this before. HOA fights get ugly. But you can't damage property or trespass after being told no, covenant or not. Our lawyer disagrees, Henry said. Then your lawyer can tell a judge, the cop replied. Workers, stop and leave now. They looked to Henry, who nodded grudgingly. This isn't over, Linda muttered. It is, I said, pulling an envelope from my robe pocket. Henry Sullivan and Linda Hayes, as lead investigator for the State Energy Commission, I'm serving you notice. Willow Grove HOA is under investigation for illegally blocking renewable energy installations. Their faces blanched. Henry took the envelope with shaky hands. What? Linda sputtered. The investigator on your case, I said, grinning. For 2 days now. This is a conflict of interest. Henry barked. Nope. I disclosed my residency up front. My bosses think my experience strengthens the case. And you just handed me prime evidence. The older cop coughed. Want to press charges for the window and damage? Absolutely, I said, eyes on Henry and Linda. I'll need the police report for my file. Neighbors murmured. You set this up, Henry accused. Put those panels up knowing we'd react, just to trap us. I installed them for clean energy and lower bills, I corrected. Your illegal response is on you. Linda's jaw tightened. The board will fight. We have connections. Good. The governor's keen to see HOAs that think they're above state law. A sleek black car pulled up. A woman in a sharp suit, Heather Langston, their lawyer, strode toward Henry and Linda. Jake frowned. She's brutal. Crushed every challenge to the HOA for years. Heather's eyes locked on me, whispering to Henry, who pointed my way. This was about to get trickier. At the community center, every head swiveled as I entered in my State Energy Commission jacket. Henry froze mid-speech at the podium. As I was saying, this troublemaker. I slammed my badge on the table, the sound cutting through the room. Henry Sullivan and Willow Grove HOA Board. I'm here as lead investigator for the State Energy Commission. Yesterday, you trespassed on my property and stole $1,000 in legally installed solar equipment. Gasps echoed. Linda shrank in her seat. Absurd. Henry stammered, tugging his tie. We were enforcing our rules. Rules that break state law, I said, hooking my laptop to the projector. Section 714 of the Energy Protection Act flashed on screen. HOAs can't ban solar systems. Sweat beaded on Henry's brow. We didn't know you were government. Would that have made you follow the law? Silence. I clicked to the next slide. For 8 months, my office tracked 12 complaints from Willow Grove residents. Solar installs blocked for aesthetics. Mrs. Carter, a timid widow, stood. They denied mine last spring. Said it'd tank property values. Others chimed in, voices rising. Henry pounded his gavel. Order. This isn't a free-for-all. I played a recording, Linda's voice. The board voted unanimously. Those eyesores violate our guidelines. He tricked us. Linda shrieked. It's a setup. I've lived here 3 years, I said calmly. I didn't ask for this gig. But when my HOA broke the law and stole from me, it got personal. Henry's face reddened. You can't record private talks. One-party consent state. I shot back, showing photos. My bare roof, lawn ruts, my panels in Linda's garage, thanks to Jake. This isn't just my panels. It's systematic abuse. That stops now. The doors burst open. Catherine Brooks, county property inspector, a tall woman announced, dropping a folder beside me. Based on a year's evidence, I'm suspending all Willow Grove HOA operations pending investigation. 2 officers stepped forward. Mr. Sullivan, MS. Hayes, we need statements about removing private property. Henry's gavel clattered to the floor as chaos erupted. You can't. Linda yelled, dodging an officer. Not anymore, Catherine said coolly. She leaned in. This goes beyond solar. We've found financial irregularities 3 years back. How bad? Missing funds, shady contracts, odd payments. Your panels cracked it open. Mrs. Carter touched my arm, teary. Thank you. My husband wanted those panels. Bills are crushing me. Neighbors shared stories, denied eco-projects, petty harassment. Jake showed me his phone, a video from last week. Henry and Linda with a suited man. My company can't lose customers to solar. Keep blocking them, and your consulting fees continue. Who's that? I asked. CEO of Bright Power Electric, Jake said. Our utility. Catherine watched, jaw tight. We need the state attorney general. This is multi-jurisdictional now. News vans rolled up outside. What now? I asked. Catherine grinned. We follow the money. At 3:17 a.m., a crack against my window yanked me awake. Snitch dripped in red paint down my door. I documented it and called the police. 4th incident in 6 days since the meeting. Notes, a smashed mailbox, slashed tires. After giving my statement, I reviewed case files. The probe now spanned 5 county HOAs, all tied to Bright Power Electric. Jake emailed an emergency notice from Henry to all residents, but me. Property values under attack by government overreach. Meeting tonight, 7 p.m., Henry's house. I forwarded it to Catherine. Stay home, she replied. Don't engage. By noon, neighbors avoided me. The mail carrier's wave became a nod. I was an outcast. A black SUV cruised by my house, 3rd time today. Not neighborly. Professional. My boss called. There's a complaint against you. Harassment, unprofessional conduct, conflict of interest. That's insane. I'm the target here. I know. Henry's brother-in-law is Senator Grayson. Pressure's coming from up top to reassign you. They're sabotaging the investigation. I'm pushing back. Be meticulous. Document everything. Then my doorbell rang. Linda, alone, disheveled. I cracked the door, chain on. What? They're pinning it on me, she whispered, eyes darting. Henry and the others. I've got records, every meeting, decision, payment. I'm not sinking alone. A horn blared. Henry in his Mercedes, glaring. I shouldn't be here, Linda hissed. Tonight's meeting, they're planning something big. Not just you, anyone pro-solar. She fled to his car, their argument visible. Catherine warned, could be a trap. Or she's cutting a deal. We need those records. That night, cars packed Henry's driveway. 40-plus neighbors, way more than usual. Texts from allies. They're plotting a class action lawsuit against you personally. Henry claims he has proof you faked evidence. Collecting $500 per household for legal fees. The pressure was suffocating. My career, home, reputation on the line. A soft knock at my back door. Mrs. Carter, Jake, and 3 others. Not everyone buys their lies, Mrs. Carter said. Over tea, they revealed evidence. Jake's financial tracking, Mrs. Carter's selective enforcement proof, tales of intimidation. We need to fight, Jake urged. Not just panels, community tyranny. Catherine texted, Channel 7 News now. The anchor reported, State Attorney General expands probe into HOA corruption and Bright Power Electric collusion. Whistleblowers allege payoffs to block solar. Hidden footage showed Henry with Bright Power execs plotting against problem homeowners. My phone blew up. Catherine, Linda delivered. Everything. Mrs. Carter squeezed my hand as Henry's face filled the screen, swarmed by reporters outside his crumbling meeting. Then a banner. Bright Power files injunction against State Energy Commission, claiming unlawful targeting. Catherine called. They've got a judge in their pocket. Temporary restraining order. We've got 48 hours to justify or hand over files. Outside, a process server waited, news crew filming. What now? Mrs. Carter asked, scared. Now, I said, accepting the thick packet as cameras flashed. We show them they picked the wrong homeowner. Mrs. Carter's hands shook as she played a recording. Henry's voice. Deny first, negotiate never. My jaw dropped. You recorded them? For 2 years, she nodded. They thought no one would resist. We watched till 2 a.m. HOA targeting families, Linda mocking residents, and 6 months ago, solar requests are out of control, Henry griped. Bright Power's losing customers. Block them here, and we each get a kickback. Bribery, I whispered. Criminal bribery. I called Catherine. By morning, she arrived with officers. We transferred the videos. This isn't just your panels anymore, she said, stunned. 3 hours later, police cars hit Henry's and Linda's houses. I watched from my kitchen as they were escorted out. Neighbors swarmed my porch. They're detained for corruption and bribery, I explained. Kickbacks to block our solar. Jake asked, that's why they denied mine? And others, I said. Soon, 30 neighbors filled my yard, sharing stories. Pizza arrived, chairs unfolded. Confusion turned to defiance. As sunset glowed, a black SUV screeched up. A suited man thrust an envelope at me. Cease and desist from Parkview Legal, for Bright Power, I read aloud. Drop accusations, sign an NDA, or face ruin. They think they can silence us, I said. Mrs. Carter stepped up. I've got videos of Bright Power execs with Henry, plotting solar blocks. The man paled as phones recorded him. This is harassment, he stammered, retreating. News alert. State Attorney General probes HOA utility corruption across 3 counties. How many communities? I wondered aloud. Then the SUVs returned. James Carter, Bright Power's new chief legal officer, the lead man said. No threats. The CEO offers a settlement. That night, the offer, new panels, community cash, partial NDA, sat on my table. Catherine at dawn. Don't trust it. But the AG says take the gesture. We're still digging. 3 weeks later, Henry and Linda wore ankle monitors. Bright Power installed premium panels on my roof. News spread. Homeowner exposes HOA corruption. Emails flooded in from statewide victims. One Saturday, as workers fixed my fence, settlement perk, Laura Sullivan, Henry's wife, approached nervously. Richard kept records, she said, handing me a flash drive. Every HOA with Bright Power, names, dates, payments. His insurance. They're cutting him loose to take the fall. 2 months on, Willow Grove elected a new board, Mrs. Carter as president, Jake as treasurer, passing pro-renewable bylaws. Catherine handed me a governor's letter, a task force on HOA reform. Statewide, she said. Protect homeowners like you did here. That night, neighbors celebrated in my yard. Kids on illegal swings, gardens free of old rules. I just wanted lower bills, I told Jake. Small fights, big wins, he replied. News flashed. FBI raids Bright Power HQ, led by homeowner evidence. Cheers erupted. Speech, someone yelled. I'm not special, I said. I just wouldn't back down. Mrs. Carter held up a clipboard. People statewide need you. I took it, glancing at Linda's glare from her emptying house. My fight had just begun.